Are we still alive? Very good. Is there anybody watching? Yes. Okay, very good. Nice to see everybody again. This is my third talk today. Now second. We had some technical difficulties. Not mention any names, but I'm thinking that my co-pilots are sometimes lacking. Never mind. It's the who knows what happens with these things. It's a great opportunity for me to give a Dhamma talk again from here in Newbury. Ajahn Brahm has this story about there's the one monk, I think it's Ajahn Sumedho, who had to give one Dhamma talk after another because Ajahn Chah wanted to teach him a lesson. So he said after giving a 1 hour talk, he said, "Oh, 1 more hour." And here I don't have Ajahn Chah, but I have other helpful people who make me do 2 hour Dhamma talks instead of 1 hour. So that's good. Okay, so I guess it's a loss for everybody, and because I think today's Dhamma talk was very good Dhamma talk. So now I'm belly full of food. I'm tired. Let's see, what should we talk about? Maybe about coronavirus. How about that? Something different. Has anybody heard there's this virus going? It's even affecting our internet. I think there's so much of this coronavirus now everywhere. I'm sort of tired of looking the news myself. Hopefully more people than just me is tired of that. Ajahn Brahm has this thing where he said if you need to make a decision, you first you have to collect all the information, and then when you have the information, then you just put it aside, and then you can make the decision. I think with this coronavirus, we all have now so much information. We know what to do. If we keep watching the news, keep putting stuff into our mind, we're brainwashing our mind into having more and more anxiety. We're not getting any more information out of the news and what's happening in the world and what should we do and all that. We know how to protect ourselves, what should be done. We will get all the right information from the government. I certainly feel that I'm in the right place because being here in the monastery, we are still well supported because of everybody. People are still bringing dana here, and we have plenty of requisites, so it's a great place to be in isolation, which we are always almost in isolation in the monastery. So this is definitely a great place to be in amidst this virus. What I was talking about this morning was I think one of the points was that a lot of times we not so worried about ourselves. A lot of times I talked to my mother a couple days ago, and we're far apart, so it's a sort of an interesting situation whether she's quite elderly now, and she's got a problem with her lungs. So if she would get this, I think that would be end of her. So it's for me. I got into this mode when I was trying to. I was thinking I was coming from the kindness of my heart. I was telling her what to do, how to behave, not to see grandchildren, and all those things. But if I really come from a place of kindness, I should be coming from a place of non-self. Compassion, metta, upekkha, equanimity, mudita, all of these things, Brahma Viharas, they should be coming from a place of non-self. We don't try to come from a place of compassion where there is still this idea of there's this sense of self there. If the more the sense of self you have in a compassion, you think it's compassion, but it's not actually compassion. You are controlling the world. And if there is you there, it's not really karuna. So even if we're trying to have this corona and have the attitude of karuna towards that and have the compassion towards others, it really easily spills into this where we are controlling others. in order to have good resistance to this virus, this current situation, being by yourself and all that, we should have a good resistance. We should have a good immune system. We should have a healthy body. But where does the healthy body comes? The healthy body comes from really from your healthy mind. So if you have a mind which is very controlling, very upset about the world, worried, you are bringing your immune system down, and that then which brings down your body. And if it most likely a lot of us will get these viruses sooner or later, we have to be well prepared. And if we are prepared with the mind which is at ease, it's easier for us to take. We don't, sure, a lot of us we're not worried about ourselves too much, but we are worried about others. Like I said, I'm worried about my mom and dad, and maybe not being able to, never gonna see them again. And it's an interesting situation. But we have to be prepared to live in this world without the error of physical suffering and the mental suffering, so we can take the mental suffering away. The Buddha was teaching us the two different kinds of suffering. It's the physical suffering and the error of mental suffering. So Ajahn Brahm was giving a Dhamma talk a couple of days ago, and I think one of the key points from there I took was that we can still be happy, and that's always been the Ajahn Brahm's teaching. The method of teaching is inspiring us, and he's telling us that we can still be happy about whatever the situation is, and it comes from the teaching of the Buddha. This is a path to higher and higher happinesses. Sure, we have the suffering, but it's how we take the suffering. If we or anybody else in our family gets the physical suffering, we don't have to have the second arrow. It's our choice. It's your choice to be to relate to this with the mind which is willing to let go, with the mind which is see it as a non-self, see it as an impermanent, see it as a teaching. The Buddha was teaching us the anicca, dukkha, anatta. Anicca being non-permanent, unreliable. I like the translation, and been taught so many years about translating anicca as unreliable. If you take it as an unreliable, we can clearly see that the world is now, this kind of situation is really clearly teaching us that the world is how unreliable it is. It is unreliable all the time. I definitely see the unreliability when I go outside, and with the people driving me all the time, I can see how unreliable I can die any time with the people driving me. It's a joke, by the way. We have good drivers. And from that anicca, unreliability, comes for the suffering, and the suffering is that we cannot control the world. And I think that's what happens with you think you have a lot of compassion. I thought I had a compassion too much towards my parents. I'm telling them how to behave and all that, but it comes from the place of controlling. It doesn't really come from a place where I'm just letting go. There's nobody here. There's nobody. My mother. It's nobody really there either. It's just things coming into being, and then and for us to try to control that, we're just making one mess into a bigger mess. If you really have a lot of compassion, is that you take the information in and you act accordingly. You let the mind calm down, and then you make a decision. And the same in a situation like this. When I talk to my mother, I have to relate more not as somebody who's trying to control her world and telling her what to do. She has enough information. It's not up to me. It's not lack of compassion if I don't start telling her how to behave. It is actually the opposite. So think about that. Contemplate how can we actually create a more harmony and happiness towards everybody, and how can we live together instead of having this society where the fear is now taking over because we watch all these things all the time. We have enough information now in our brains. We know the news. We know what's going to happen. Now is to act compassionately, have loving kindness, have a little bit of upekkha, equanimity in your mind. We don't have to be so worried. It's you choose how to take this situation. Sure, the media is telling us something. Our parents are telling us something. Our children, like me, I'm trying to tell something to my mom and dad. But step back a little bit. Take a breath and say, is this the right way to behave? Am I creating more anxiety towards other people's minds as well? Sure, we have to be serious about it. But what does that mean? Like I said, you take the information, you act accordingly, wash your hands, keep away from people, have the distance, all that. We are serious enough, but it doesn't mean we cannot be happy. We still have our freedom in this world. We live in a society here in Australia, Victoria, where we're so lucky. We don't have to worry about many things. I've been in a situation where I have lost job. I've lived in a foreign country where I don't have money in my pocket. I don't have nowhere to go really. And I remember there was this situation I was telling in a previous talk that I really had 70 cents in my account, and I had rent coming on due. And I couldn't pay my rent. And the only thing I could think of, like, not to be so worried about it, but I said, well, you know what? It's going to be interesting how things are going to turn out. And fair enough. I mean, sure enough, I managed to get paid the rent then a bit late, and I still had the place to stay. I still managed to finish my studies. I still finished to stay healthy, live along, think about it, remember that situation. And it is a unnerving situation, I think, for many now. But what you are doing most of the time when you're worrying is you're projecting future. It's almost like that's when we are reading the news, we are trying to understand what's going to happen in the future. So we'll be ready. And that's what us humans, we do all the time. We are thinking about what's going to happen in the future, even though we know exactly, as a Buddhist, it's uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. It's anicca. Even now, on this moment, when we have coronavirus hitting us, we are looking the news. We are like preparing for it. We're telling others how to behave. We are controlling the world instead of letting go. Letting go in the way of realizing that this is out of our control. There's nothing we can do about it. And I always like the teaching of Ajahn Brahm when he said, when there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, do nothing. What do you have to do? Nothing. What can you do? Nothing. Stop being the control freak of your life and others. Just relax. Take care of others by making sure they understand you care about them, you are there for them, you talk to them, all those things. But you don't need to start controlling them. That's the wrong way to go about in this kind of situation. If you can, still take care of others. Go and have somebody, an elderly person, who can go bring them food or bring them requisites. Come to monastery. We still have people dropping us food in the monastery. And then in this way you have more and more compassion in your life. If you just stay home, which we have to, most of the time we have to now, sure, that's what they're telling us. But if you're not doing little things, even for your partner at home now, I know as a monk, there's very little things as in the monastery. Sometimes it's very, very difficult to get happiness in the monastery. And why is that? Why, you think it's so easy for us monks and nuns. We just stay in the monastery and it's so easy to meditate. You know why is it so difficult? It's hard to get happiness. It's hard to get inspiration in this life. Because for us, we don't really, when everything comes to you, it's hard to find the happiness in this life. So that's why we need to do things to get get the happiness as well. My things is these little things where I make coffee for somebody. I do the when they have I see the washing in the laundry machine. I go and take it out. I do little things for others just to make, not that because I have to do it. It's because it brings me happiness. Why do I give Dhamma talks? I don't need to give Dhamma talks. I could refuse. But thank you for allowing me to give Dhamma talks. It brings me happiness. It's not like you need to hear that there's enough Dhamma talks, but thank you for allowing me to give these Dhamma talks. It brings me happiness. And when your mind is inspired and happy, there is not so much suffering there. The second arrow is less and less. You can be happy in a situation like this. And don't think it's going to be a certain way in the future. We had on the previous, just a talk, people asking about the stock market crashing and losing their job and all that. You don't know what's going to happen. That is the reality. No matter what you say and you think, yes, I know, you don't. Do you think you're going to know what's going to happen in 20 years? The stock market will be double what it is now. You live through this, and you have more compassion if you can relate to this correctly. Because I didn't always have place to stay and money. Because I've lost my job, I lived in a foreign country by myself where I didn't have friends. I know how unnerving it is to be lonely. And I never look down on people who cannot get a job. No matter what you do, sometimes it just doesn't work. Because of that, I have more compassion towards people. Because I have a lot of people who took care of me. I know how it is to take care of. What does it feel like when somebody takes care of you? These kind of situations, they're there to remind us that we are all in the same level. Humanity is fragile. But it's not the death which is so worrying in this time. Okay, sure, some people will die, but it will be most likely what there's the story of that. The teacher from Thailand, Ajahn Brahm, tells this story quite often, is that when there was a storm and this monk was living in these bamboo huts like they do in the forest, in the Thai forest tradition, and there was a big storm coming through that monastery. And he was saying that he was really worried about his life. You in this thatched little hut, kuti there, and the storm was raging outside of his hut, and branches were coming down, trees were coming down, and all that. And he thought he was going to die. And he managed to go through it the whole night, and then eventually he had fell into sleep, and he wakes up in the morning, and he goes outside, and he looks, and everywhere there's just trees are blown off, and there's leaves everywhere, but the kuti was still survived. But he looks into the ground, and he sees all these leaves everywhere, and he sees most of the leaves are old leaves. They're brown. They would have maybe fallen off anyways, even if there was like no wind or even low wind makes these withered leaves go down. But also there's leaves which are not so withered, they're not so brown, there's a little bit of green left, and also those leaves had fall down, but there's less of them. And green leaves, there's even green leaves are in the prime of their lives. It was just, like nice mature leaves, and there was also some of those have fallen down when a big storm came through, but again less. And even low leaves, they were just starting their life, they're just shooting up, and even those had fallen down because the storm was so strong. But hardly any of those. And he realized that that's how it is in life. Because everything is uncertain. Sure, when a storm comes through, there's most of the time old leaves, the withered ones, they will get blown away. But also the green shoots, the low ones, they are also susceptible for these forces of nature, and that's what anicca is. A lot of it is to do with nature. It is not so much about your karma. You cannot control your karma. You think you are in charge of this world, but it's just forces of nature. It really is anicca. It's unreliable. That creates suffering. Remember this when you go on. From now on, it's not so much about, Auntie Ranjani was saying this morning, it's not so much about dying, it's about getting reborn again. If you get the rebirth, you die and you get born again, what do you reap? Suffering. You're not going to go to a happy place where it's happy ever after. It will be maybe happiness for quite a long time. We had a good times, and we still have good time. We still have a lot of laughter here in the monastery. We have good food. We probably had a cheesecake for 3 days in a row. We have brilliant food. We're really not in needing of anything, and I think that's a quite a nice reminder for myself as well. Is days like this, job security is low, but being a monk is the job security is very high. No one's going to come and say, okay, the president of the Buddhist Society of Victoria is going to come to me tomorrow and say, sorry Mudito, we cannot support you anymore, you're fired. I really don't have anywhere to go if Adrian is going to come to me tomorrow and say, I'm fired. Please keep us fed. We don't need that much. And if anything, our kutis are up almost there, almost done. We are cleaning up in the new side, and Sangha house is almost done. So we're doing well. But we need to learn how to relate correctly to this kind of situation. And remember, you don't have to be worried. You have enough information. You know what to do. We all know what to do. You can still be happy. We learn from this situation. We don't try to push them away and control the world. Very good. I don't think I have anything else to say. Do we have questions? Our technical person is struggling again. Can we have a new technical person, please?
Same story.
Yes.
You asked me something.
Yes.
You asked me something.
should I ask you something? Okay.
Yeah.
Auntie Ranjani, you are 80 years old.
82.
82 years old. So you're twice as old. You know what?
Yes.
I was just
Just half my age. Yeah.
first birthday. So you're twice as old as me.
Yeah. Twice.
What's the secret of long life? So what as an old person are you worried about the situation? What we have now?
No. I'm very happy, keeping my mind happy, facing the situation, to accept it. Anyway, for me, death is very near. I'm really contemplating on my death at the moment.
Does it bring you happiness or does it make you sad?
No, sad. I'm not worried about dying. I'm worried. I don't want to be born again, but I can't stop. You never know. But I'm fear of my being born again.
Yeah.
Wherever you are born, as any being, I don't feel any happiness anywhere.
Yeah.
Any realm, I don't think.
Yet you're so happy.
I'm happy. You can see that I'm
Why don't you, if you don't see happiness, how can you be happy?
Don't.
If you don't see happiness anywhere, how can you be happy now?
If I'm happy now as it is, but I don't.
Okay, I think it's the happiness is more like a contentment.
It's in the present moment. I'm happy. I can't see any happiness being born to another world or anywhere. Any being being suffering. Yes. Maybe we have gone through suffering which we can't remember. At the moment, I'm happy. We all go through suffering, but can't remember the suffering. I can only see the present happiness. Being in the monastery, especially.
Aho sukang.
Yeah.
This is happiness. Yeah, the law aho sukang. It comes from that. There's that one king who ordained, and he got the divine messenger. He's getting old, and he ordained, and then he was alone in his kuti in this forest, and he was saying these things, aho sukang, this is happiness, this is happiness. And other monks heard him saying that. They went to the Buddha and say, oh, he's enjoying, still thinking about the worldly happinesses he had when he was a king.
Yeah.
The Buddha said, no, he's saying that this is happiness.
Yes, happiness to be in the monastery. He was happy to be a monk,
and he wasn't thinking about. And even that's true. I mean, I've had good times as well in. And I mean, not saying now, but whatever it is, the fleeting, the happiness, the contentment, and the happiness is at the moment. If you do something really nice for others, you which reduces the sense of self, where that brings the happiness, which is it's at this moment, and at the momentary, this kind of contentment and the lessening the sense of self, that is a good happiness.
It is true. And we have the opportunity to do some service and take care of the monastics, and that gives me a lot of happiness. And I think as a monastics as well, we get the happiness of, it's sometimes difficult. Like I said, during the rains retreat and all those things. I mean, the mind does quiet down. But if you're not really seeing happiness anywhere, or whether if you're not getting happiness from your own mind, if the happiness doesn't start rising, it is a difficult place to be. And that's why, what's the difference between prison and how we live? It's not really that we are quite isolated as well, but the prison is in your mind. So if the people are now home, and if it starts feel like a prison, why? What you are creating that prison. You are limiting yourself in some way. More you limit, more happiness. More you let go, more
you let go. Yeah.
More I let go, more happy I am.
So this golden, you've been making the home as the best place to live, and now you have all the time to stay at home.
Yeah.
And now it's prison. It's because it's how you relate to that.
Yes. This is my home.
Yeah.
Letting go of, more you let go, I'm happy now. I let go of most of my, I don't miss anybody life anymore.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it sort of sounds a bit cold to say, but even with my mother, who's now elderly as well, and she's quite, she's okay, but I know if the virus will hit her, she would be in trouble, and I don't know if I can go to her funeral. But I have enough metta towards everybody. It's more even. So even if she would now pass away, I would not feel so sad.
Yeah, you were talking of the opportunity for us to practice our care and being kind to others and have compassion for everybody. And this, especially under this corona situation, we feel, I think even the non-Buddhists understand their little wisdom to see the anicca dukkha anatta in this situation. I mean, anicca, at least anicca, they have no control over the world. They know that.
But we are still trying to control it. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not nobody else is trying to do that, but I definitely try to do myself. That's why I was saying that with my own mother, I tell her what to do. Why I don't need to tell her not to see the grandchildren and go out and whatever she wants to do. She has the information. I don't need to tell her that.
Yeah, she already know, but still because you love her and you have your because you have an attachment. Still, you know she's your, because still you know she's your mother. That's why, Bhante. Even I tell that to my granddaughter and my daughter. Yes, don't go to work these days. Don't go in the train. So that's true. It is because we have some attachment.
That's why I'm saying that the attachment spills into the suffering.
Yes.
Do you need to have that suffering?
If something happens, of course we say
you
happy.
feel it's all your fault.
Yeah, we will feel sorry. Yeah, we'll be sad.
Yeah, but we have to try to step above that. We
then to practice non-self.
Non-self. If you understand everything is it's anicca.
No person, no one.
And even with anatta, but with the anicca, it's unreliable. Really is unreliable. You don't try to control everything. You don't have actually. You think you have karuna, you have compassion.
Yes.
You have a lot of attachment. Yes. That's what you have.
Till we realize the anatta, we can't get out of the attachment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very good.
So Do you want to have the microphone? It's easier when you have the microphone. I don't know. People don't like to talk to the microphone. I like to talk to the microphone. I like when people take pictures of me. Please take pictures of me.
I was just going to say my mother has leukemia and she's in the last stages of leukemia. And I think the best way you can help someone who's reaching the end of life is to come out of attachment yourself. Because I realize the more that I'm attached to her and I act in a attached way, like trying to offer her advice or tell her what to do, which I did so much in the beginning, the more she becomes attached to stuff as well. So I think the best thing for me that I can do in this life is to come out of attachment.
Exactly. I mean, that is the reality of it, is that why we have so much suffering, because we create the suffering. There's two arrows. I mean, okay, the Buddhist simile was with the physical pain and the mental pain, but with the family, we get a lot of happiness, and we learn how to to care of each other and all these things, but it comes with the package. And in some point you realize, okay, well, we have the compassion, but if you're trying to control, you're making more suffering. Why do you want to make somebody else that you really love to suffer more, like you said? And I think you're right. I mean, quite often we try to give too many instructions instead of just listening. I know I'm guilty of quite often myself of that, and you learn that as well when you go and meet sick patients. Quite often we try to give instructions and learn, you do this and that, instead of just listening, just being there. If we can somehow
deeply rooted thing where we are we in control and we know better. I watched this news now, and I know how to behave. Or I know you got the cancer if you do this, this, and that, and just be happy with trying to teach Buddhism or whatever it is. Don't. Everybody, we have our own path, anyways. We have mothers and grandmothers and daughters and sons and all that, but we all are heir to our karma. We all have to walk our own path and care the best of our abilities to everybody. There is no really difference between any of us, whether you're rich or poor or weak or strong, whether they are living far or near. We have to have the metta towards everybody. And when you have that kind of metta, which comes from the place of non-self, then you don't have that much suffering. It sounds a bit cold not to care more about your mother than anybody else, but if you don't, then the suffering will follow from that. So I think it's an interesting concept that if your metta is stronger, you suffer less not because of that it's your mother who passed away. It is your metta is stronger, and then you suffer less because it's more even towards everybody. It doesn't come from a place of self, it comes from a place of non-self. So the stronger sense of self you have, the more you think you're going to lose. But I know it's not easy. Yeah, even for me, I have a grandmother who passed away when I was a novice, and I went to see her. She was on deathbed, but I had to go back to Australia. I think my rains retreat was starting, and I said, if I don't see you anymore, I'm not going to come to funeral. I might not make the funeral, I said. And she said, okay, I won't be looking for you. So it is a bit, I know it is that way. I don't know if I'm ever going to see my mother, or for you, if you're ever going to see your mother if she's in last stages, because it's so unreliable. But we just have to care of one of each other, of all of us. Yeah. And we learn from these things. I think the good thing about coronavirus is it is really the people we know, we all in the same level. None of us are going to be any different from it. Yeah. She okay? Your mum?
Oh, she's okay.
She happy?
No.
Yeah.
Still very much attached to this
life. Yeah, sure. That's the yeah. I mean, but the good thing about it being, is she Buddhist or?
She's a Buddhist.
Okay.
Level of consciousness is always changing. So there are moments when I've let go, I'm completely fine.
Yeah.
And then, just around the corner, it will be the complete opposite. She'll be completely, so.
Yeah. It's interesting, like Auntie Ranjan is saying that it's not about dying, it's about reborn. And that's what the Buddha was saying, that it's like, the rebirth is suffering, not the dying. But it is for most of us, most of the humanity and most of us, it is the prospect of losing everything. It is a daunting prospect.
Yeah, which is why the coronavirus is so amazing. It's like ego death for the whole world as we lose, people are losing their jobs, people are losing their money, people are losing everything.
Yeah.
So
Who am
teaching.
I without my work? Who am I without, if I don't have a place to, if I would have to go and live with my parents or something, just, suck it up.
Yep.
No, it is, but I mean, we'll come out strong out of it. Most of people will survive, but sure, it is a good opportunity. Yeah. Is there online question?
Yes. One question: how to deal with the overwhelming amount of COVID news coming your way, especially when I need to stay connected on the internet due to my employment?
Okay. If you need to be really, I mean, I don't know. You just have to say. Sometimes you have to say, like your mom would say, just stay away from there. Don't go and hang out with those naughty kids. Don't go. I know you're saying that you have to be connected. Okay, fair enough. Getting the news, if you really, that's your job. You're trying to siphon the news about what's happening, and that's your job. You are really part of that cycle, but most of us, we're not. I know I did that kind of job where you when I worked with people, where you are really connected and you see the world all the time. But so if you're part of it, think it as in this term, that this too will pass. There is no permanent thing in this life. Not even this will pass. It's not going to keep going forever. Don't projecting in the future that as if this is going to take over this is going to keep going and going and going. See, take it as a one day at a time. Limit your exposure to it as much as you can. Really, you just have to say, okay, that's enough. I have the data. I have the information. I don't need to know more about this. But if it is your job, if it's part of your job, you have to really take it on all the time. Well, you have to learn how to relate to it. But most of the time, even if you're in a job where a position where you need to know enough so you can tell your people who work for this company or work for you, or you have all the information, so you will find it. You don't need to know how to find it. Can you do it just 3 times a day? Can you really have to do it all the time? Or is it your mind thinking that you have to do it? Most of the things you'll be fine if you learn about it tomorrow. They will ask you questions, but you take the information, put it down. You don't need to be on top of it. You will burn out if you think you will. And what's going to happen when you start burning out? You are really not productive doing the job you should be doing. Nobody can take that kind of information load all the time. Nobody. So be aware that if you're smart, limit yourself. Otherwise, you're not the good employer you should be. You should be. Sometimes you just have to say, okay, listen, enough. I do something else now. Is there anything else?
The second mic is having some issue.
Yeah.
So how about I send it to you and you just repeat the question?
Okay, no problem.
Next question is, in the Samadhi Bhavana Sutta, it mentions the development of alokasana, which leads to obtaining knowledge and vision. Can you talk more about it?
The Logasanya. Logasanya. No, I cannot talk more about it. Okay, no, so if you get the nimittas, can you it's like what does he mean, like what with the aloka sanya? So you have the knowledge of the if you go beyond this world. Is that the nimittas and the jhanas?
I will ask this person again. Then should we go to the next question first?
Yeah.
Okay, next question
Can't think of nimitta.
about the chanting yesterday.
Oh, the chanting yesterday.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this chanting?
Bhante
Who's asking this question? No, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Why are we doing this chanting? I think the question was earlier. Well, who are we chanting for? What? Listen, it doesn't matter. We're chanting for you. Now, so I didn't like the chanting too much in the beginning either when I ordained as a monk, and it's like, why are we chanting? Like in Bodhinyana, we do chanting every Wednesday night. After meal, we're doing blessings. Like, why are we doing all this chanting? And I know I've been in the monasteries where every morning you have to do chanting, every night you have to do chanting. Why are we doing the chanting? Are we doing it for the devas? Are the devas protecting us because of this chanting? It doesn't matter. It is happiness for yourself. You are chanting for yourself. We are chanting to remember the word of the Buddha. We are chanting to create happiness in a sense that even the devas will hear the words and they can find happiness in it. But whether any of that, any of the things about the devas protecting, any of the things about we chanting that it makes, I read somewhere that people wanted to do chanting creates a positive vibes. It will create positive vibes because it makes you happy. If it inspires and inspires your mind, you will find confidence, and a confident mind then brings happiness to you. We're not there to chanting to annoy anybody. We're there to chant to inspire ourselves. And if somebody else gets inspired from it, whether it's in this world or other world, that's good. And that's why we're chanting. The yesterday's chanting, yeah. We got comments or people find that they remembered those chants since they were a child and they were chanting along and they're very happy about it. So it's just that is just perfect reason to do chanting. But mostly you should be remembering the word of the Buddha.
Next question.
Yep.
Could you please talk about the stock market and losing job anxiety?
Stock market and losing what?
Losing job.
Losing job. Well, what did I say previously? With the stock market, I mean, come on. I think we have a bigger things to worry about, but it's a worry. I mean, I know. I did invest in the stock market myself, and you always feel like you're losing out. It's so much worry, and the worry now, obviously, is going to be, if I was in stock market myself, is that you have lost your job, or you're worried about your job, and the stock market is crashing, and you need to get some savings out, and you want to sell them. Well, you don't want to sell them because of the stocks are low now. So you're losing money, right? So that is the worry. Who cares? I don't care about the stock market crashing. Most of the people who don't have stocks don't care about it. The people who have stocks, they're worried about because they know they will come again, maybe in 20 years, 10 years, 30 years. But they're worried about because they might have to sell now. So you are worried about losing. You're worried about you earn this money and you were projecting in the future, this is how it's going to be. I'm going to be wealthy. Now the prospect is going away. You're worried about it. Otherwise, why would you be worried about it? You were creating this kind of sense of self, which is really, in the future, this is how it's going to be. And now the future is here and it didn't turn out that way. And you're suffering. Well, welcome to the reality. Well, welcome to the real life. Why do you think stocks, you can make a lot of money in stocks? Because they are volatile, because they are unreliable. If they were constantly going up, everybody would be putting money in the stocks. It would be like printing money, but it's not. Well, now you were reaping the benefits when the stock market was going up. Now it's going down. It's the opposite. Somebody else will now make money on your behalf. take the sense of self out of it, out of it. Take the future out of it a little bit. Think about longer term. It will bounce back. Maybe it takes 10 years. And if you have to sell now, well, at least you have some savings. Sure, it is suffering, but the suffering now comes from that, what you were thinking it's going to be in the future. I know that's what happened to me as well. I lost money, but then you can be a monk. What a great opportunity. It's not so bad. Believe me. It's nice to lose everything. Any other questions?
First of all, could you please tell the audience that our other mic is making some noise? So
okay. Okay, so the other microphone is making noises, so I have to repeat questions. So is that what you want me to say? Our technical person is not so skilled, so this is being going. Believe I live with these people. This is.
Okay, next question. How do you reconcile wanting to help others and realizing that their suffering, like yours, is due to their karma?
How do you help others, but make them realize that their suffering is due to their karma?
How do you reconcile wanting to help others?
Wanting to help. How would you reconcile wanting to help others?
I think it's more like the balancing of wanting to help others and also realizing that their suffering are like yours, which is due to their karma.
Well, I mean, here you go again. The karuna spells into this where it's like this is how it should be. You wanting to help others, but then and the others are not realizing that this is the way of the Buddha's teaching, or the world doesn't work according your wishes. You have a need to. Don't worry about a lot of those things. Just do it. It doesn't matter what the world. Don't try to control the world. How do you reconcile with it? You don't have to reconcile. Just go and do it. Most of the time, if you stuck in your head like, should I go and do it because of, they don't understand. They don't get the benefit because they don't understand where I'm coming from. It's not your job. Your job is do that little good deed. Whether it's washing doing somebody else's laundry, or go and do something nice, or bring dana for the monastery. If you are creating this big intellectual thing out of it, it becomes very egotistic thing to do. We are doing things because we are lessening sense of self. Anything you do, that's why we always encourage people to do dana, and because it makes your sense of self less, and that brings happiness. If you're expecting something out of the world, when you give something, this is how it's going to turn out, and this is, they always will gratefully think of you ever after. Well, you're reaping suffering from that. If you're doing something out of, I'm just doing it because I need to do it. I need to give Dhamma talks. Not that because it makes me happy. I don't need to give Dhamma talks to make people enlightened. I don't need to give Dhamma talks because my Dhamma talks are so great. No, I just need to give Dhamma talks because I need to give. There is no matter how I think about it, it's our way of giving Dhamma talks. That's the monks and nuns, that's what we do. We help in many other ways as well, but this is one of the big ways we can do it. That's why we need to study, because then we can help others. That's why we need to meditate, because we need to have our minds calmer in days like these. How do you reconcile that? You don't need to reconcile it. Just do it. Anything else? Anything else?
This person called Paul, he's a huge fan, by the way. And the question is, do you think that the being / essence / God is punishing us for what we are doing to ourselves, our
my biggest fan, Paul, I don't think, is telling us whether there is the being or God is punishing us for to bring in, and that's going to bring us this thing, the virus. I can't think of any logical reason why a being, let's say we name this being a God. Why would God bring us this thing to punish us? Why? What? So it's, like Bible has these stories where the God said, okay, well, you have misbehaved. I'm going to drown every one of you except you and your wife, he told Noah, and then bring 2 of every creature into your ship, but I will kill everybody else. And now this is the situation again. We are like in Noah's Ark. So most people and will now suffer and because of this and die, and this is the God's divine plan. Or there is a universe is against us. No, it's just nature. It's not even your karma. It's people ask, there's this thing about, it's my karma. I got sick. I got coronavirus. It's not your karma. It's not. There is not a divine plan. It's nature. It's biology. It comes from animals, and okay. People are greedy, so they kill animals and they keep them in cages. You get this disease, and it gets transferred from animal to human, and starts mutating and gets from human to human. It's nobody's fault. It's they had these wet markets in China for thousands of years, right? Whose fault is it? Nobody's fault. It's just a culture. It's just a nature. It's not nobody's karma. Maybe it is a divine plan. Who knows? Maybe there is a God who's looking after us, making realize now that this is how it should be. And I bet you there's a lot of people who believe this. I know you've been hearing from the news from Iran, and it's God's will if we're gonna die. Fair enough. That's how. If you take it that way, that is your reality. Who am I to say it's not like that? But for my basic belief is that it's just a nature. It is nothing to do with us per se. But it's just a learning opportunity for us. It's not your karma. If it's a divine thing, I don't know. Really, I don't know. Yes.
Back to the question about the Samadhi Vajana Sutta. The person replied that it's about 4 kinds of purification of mind. Jhana is one of them. I was curious of Bhante's understanding.
So it's the 4 purifications of mind, and the jhana is one of them. Yeah. So what's the question again? Can you repeat the first question?
In the Samadhi Vajana Sutta, it mentions the development of alokasana, which leads to obtaining knowledge and vision.
Does anybody know answer for this? No, I know it's probably I was talking about the nimittas, but it's the nimittas, and then you go into the jhanas. But yeah, so the different perceptions of yeah. No, I don't. I have to admit I don't really remember at the moment, so I have to study that. So yep, wrong person to ask. I'm sorry. I know. I don't remember that now. Ask. I have an answer. Ask next week. Next week you can ask Bhante Aranavihari, or week after that I'll do my studies and I'll look at the sutras. What's my understanding? The Alokasanya. Yeah.
Question for me: what would you like to say to the people in Europe right now?
People in where? Italy. Ciao. Come stai? What can I say? What do you think I am? Who am I to say anything? Okay, so the thing is, it's same for all of us. Do you need to put something? No, okay, so we're getting heavy rain, so I don't know if it's going to affect the audio, but I know it is difficult for all of us. Now, I think it's not just for Italy, whether, what should I say for Italy? We are going to hit the next wave here in Australia soon. We are now in a good place to see what happened in Italy, so we know how to limit ourselves. Unfortunately, you didn't have enough information, so you really have to learn now how to have compassion and care about each other, and how to live with this situation the best of your ability. Find the positivity and happiness in the world. We will come out of it. And sure, we are a bit behind you, but we are getting it as well. So thank you for showing us how things turn out, and it even in a prosperous country like in Italy, it can happen. We learn from that, and unfortunately, you had to be the one who's teaching. It's sad, but it is it's what it is. Okay, one more question. How to do internet?
Well, there are lots of discrimination going on with this COVID virus.
Was there a lot of discrimination with the COVID virus towards against Asians? There was. Yeah. Was there a lot of discrimination? I've heard there was one girl crying. She came to talk to me, and I don't think she was even Chinese. But she said she's getting a lot of discrimination just when the virus was starting in her university. But I think anymore. If it was just in China and it was limited there, and we would manage to curb it somehow, we would be racist about it. A lot of people would be racist about it. But yeah, I know there was a lot of racism against it, and people were worried about it. But since it's our problem. It's not them versus us. We're all in the same boat now, right? Even here in the monastery, we now have to do these things where we don't go out. People bring us food. We have to take care of all of us, each other. It's an interesting situation that all of us, everywhere, whether it's United States now, that it's in Finland or here in Australia, Italy, China, maybe even started there. It's nobody's fault. But sure, it's easy to point fingers. Okay. Anything else? Auntie Ranjani should we finish? Is it too long already? Okay. What do you want? Did you want to ask something? No, Ranjani. The microphone doesn't want to work anymore. Our technical issues again. No? I can't hear anything because it's raining. Okay, enough. Take care of each other. I'll see you if I'm not in virus next 2 weeks. And Bhante Aranavihari will be next weekend. Huh? Tomorrow is meditation, Monday. Maybe. Now technical personnel is lacking a bit sometimes. But tomorrow, Monday, is, yes, meditation. And I'll hopefully see you tomorrow morning. Nighttime. 7 o'clock something. Yeah? 7? Okay. Yep, see you. 7:30, sorry. And then next weekend again. Have a good one. Stay alive. Thank you.